Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen, the channel that brings you your team every single day. The channel that brings you all the latest information is going on at Ibrox at this moment in time. Right, let's get one thing straight, guys. It's 5 wins. It's no more excuses. It has to be 5 wins, but not just 5 wins, but 5 performances as well. 5 games that show an identity, that show progression, that show we are moving forward, and that show that these new signings are worth the funds that have been laid out for them, whatever the truth behind that might be, whether you believe the board, whether you believe our manager, who does talk an awful lot of double truth, possibly. Anyway, let's first of all talk a little bit about the team, the game on Saturday. Let's focus on one player in particular. Let's focus first of all on Denio. Now, Denio is, well, I don't know what the story is behind this man. He's a £6 million centre forward. Well, if you believe the board, if you believe Michael Beale, he's not worth anything near that amount. If you believe the board, he's worth that amount. I don't know who you believe. I'll let you make that judgment. However, he scored twice this season, but has only started, in fact, a few games, the Servette game, and I think it was the Livy game that he has started. He's been not picked because of the fact that Michael Beale has insisted on playing Searle Dessers through the middle, which I think we can mostly agree has not been a raging success. It's not like he's scored a shed load of goals, which is, look, what he's in the team for. If he is picked as a centre forward, his job is to score goals. If he's not scoring goals, he ain't doing his job, simple as. Now, the other thing that sort of kind of perplexed Rangers fans is that when Denio has been brought on, a lot of the time he's been used on the left-hand side of the attack as a left winger. Now, this may not come as a surprise because of the fact that Michael Beale's tactics are slightly, let's say, questionable or non-existent. His use of players in the wrong position has kind of also confused a lot of people as well. For me, Denio has to start on Saturday. He has to be given an opportunity to impress. He has to be given a run of games to impress. Searle Dessers has been given a run of games to impress and has, well, quite frankly, not impressed in the slightest. Yes, there was that pass to Matondo against PSV Eindhoven, but you know what? You can't live on one pass and one pass alone. As Richard Goff once said, you're only as good here as your last pass. His last pass wasn't that great. He's also missed a shed load of chances, the 3 against Ross County that Antonio Charlak would have buried, and the chance against PSV Eindhoven. Had that gone in, it could have been a totally different game. We can't argue with that because we've all been, those people who've been supportive of Beale this weekend, supportive of Dessers, have been playing the, if that goal against Celtic had stood, blah, blah, blah. So let's play it the other way now. Look, at the end of the day, we have to start with our strongest possible lineup. We have to win at St Johnstone. And it seems crazy that we're kind of talking in terms of we have to win at St Johnstone, as if it's kind of like not a given. This club has standards. This club has a reputation. This club has, history, a great history, which, goes well beyond 2012, no matter what that lot across the city may tell you. We should not be going to St Johnstone with any expectation other than to put them severely to the sword. And to do that, we need our best players on the field. And for me, Denio has to be given the opportunity to play. Now, for whatever reason so far, he hasn't been included. I don't know why it is. I don't see him train every day, and I don't know what's going through his head at this moment in time. We certainly haven't had that revealed to us. Whether it is that he's not settling in Glasgow, I don't know. People talk about handling the pressure. Denio has played at 2 of the biggest clubs in Dutch football, in Ajax and Feyenoord. I'm pretty sure that there is an awful lot of pressure around the Amsterdam Arena and a lot of pressure around the Dijk Stadium in Rotterdam, especially obviously when Feyenoord and Ajax are competing for league titles and cup victories and competing in Europe. So I'm pretty confident that Denio can handle the pressure. The other thing is, if you watch Denio, he's quicker than Dessers. He just shows at times the touch that shows that this lad has talent, that he has ability. And for me, you've got to give him the opportunity to prove that, and he has to start on Saturday. Now, some people have talked about, and including the manager, about having a Dessers stroke Denio partnership, that maybe Dessers may be better as a foil for this man. The only issue you've got there is, how do you leave out this man, Kemar Roofe? Kemar Roofe scored, probably should have scored against Celtic. And that goal probably should have stood. It could be 2 in 2 games for him. Kemar Roofe is the best natural finisher at the club. Now, how you choose Dessers ahead of Roofe is quite frankly beyond me. Personally, I would love to see Michael Beale throw a bit of caution to the wind to actually, show a bit of bravery and go with two up top. And I'd love to see him go with Denio and Roofe up front and actually take the game to the opposition. The other thing of that as well is Denio is a player who can drop off. He can go wide when he needs to, but not start there. He can play in a very fluid role there. And for me, Denio and Roofe, I think, would suit each other and complement each other far better than Denio and Dessers or Roofe and Dessers would. Personally, I'd love to see that. You've got Denio, who scored goals, has a better goals per minute ratio than Dessers, is a better all-round player than Searle Dessers. I'd even rate Zach Lovelace as a better player than Dessers, to be honest with you. But Kemar Roofe is certainly someone who, I think cannot be dropped. This lad is a natural scorer. Yes, you probably get to 60, 65 minutes and he may need to come off because, look, he probably can't last 60, 65 minutes. Then obviously, Michael Beale can bring on his favourite Dessers then if he wants to. But for me, Roofe and Dessers, Roofe is far superior to Dessers. Denio is far superior to Dessers. Now, I know what those people who would argue with this say, well, what about that sitter he missed against Servette? What about that sitter? It wasn't a sitter, it was a chance against PSV. He had Ramelow in front of him and Benitez behind Ramelow, so I'm not going to call it a sitter. But okay, so what about the 3 chances against Ross County that Dessers missed? What about the 1 chance against PSV Eindhoven that he missed? Look, we can go on and we can throw this back and forth, back and forth. At the end of the day, this guy, Denio, we paid an awful lot of money for him. A lot of money at this point in Rangers history. Look, yes, in the grand scheme of football at this moment in time, 6 million is not a lot for a centre forward. Not if you look at what clubs down south are paying, or some of the biggest clubs in Europe are currently paying for players. Witness the transfer fee of Harry Kane to Bayern Munich, for example. But for Rangers, it is a lot of money. So therefore, we need to see exactly what we've got. We need to give this lad a run in the team. He is technically superior. He is a far superior to Searle Dessers. So why we are not seeing him over Dessers is quite frankly beyond me. As I mentioned on yesterday's video, I'd like to see us to go to 3-4-1-2. I think if we go to 3-4-1-2, it will enable us to play with those 2 centre forwards and attack the opposition. Jared Butland in goal, a back 3 of Suter, Goldson and Balogun. You could equally swap Balogun for Davis. That's a possibility. Yilmaz, I'd play at left wing back, and I don't ever want to see Borna Barosich in a Rangers shirt ever again, and I'll explain that situation in a moment. Jack and Raskin, or we could even see Raskin and Cifuentes in there. Tav as a wing back, I think that takes away from his failings, which is obviously his defending is not up to scratch at the moment. Having 3 at the back kind of negates the fact that he will need to defend as much, especially games against St Johnstone and those teams, that down that we really do need to be beating. You put Todd Cameron as a 10, you give him that freedom to go and influence the game as he did last season, when he was dominant. Where he struggled this season is when he's been asked not to do that, not to go and be the main man and go where he wants. He's been kind of restricted in what Beale's asked of him. And then Roofe and Danilo up front. I just think that gives us a lot more flexibility, a lot more attacking talent. And this team, to me, is kind of, with the expectation on the fullbacks given the width, is screaming out for 3 at the back and using wing backs. We don't have any natural width. I suppose you've got Seamer and Matondo, but it's far more important to go with those 2 up top and give them an opportunity to score goals and really take the game to St Johnstone. Now, as I mentioned, in my team, I selected Rid van Yilmaz as the left wing back. Why did I select Rid van Yilmaz as the left wing back? Because, quite frankly, I am sick to death of this man here. Now, I've praised him at the start of the season for some good performances against some of those lesser teams, and he did do well against some of the lesser teams at the start of the season. For example, etc., etc. But look, I'm going to be frankly quite honest. I've been pretty much disgusted with this man's attitude and the way he's gone about things in the last couple of weeks. So let me explain. He comes off against PSV Eindhoven with a hamstring injury when he was getting roasted and slaughtered. And he was getting taken to the cleaners by the man he was supposed to be marking. Okay, so he comes off injured. Now, as we know, this is not the first time he's done this. He did it against Celtic, for instance, in a previous season. He then obviously is suddenly declared fit for the Celtic game on Sunday by Michael Beale. He then fails a fitness test and cannot play against Celtic. Because why? Well, he's always struggled, hasn't he, against their right winger, who's Lael Abeda, is it? Abeda, the guy's name? I don't care what the guy's name is, to be quite frankly, has made his life pretty much misery, and he suddenly disappears again. And then miraculously makes a comeback for Croatia as a substitute. And then, guess what? Miraculously, on Monday night, Barosich makes the starting lineup for Croatia, and he's all good to go and ready to play against Armenia, and he's fully fit. It's a miracle. Now, the Croatian national team coach, when asked about Barosich's injury, said it was nothing serious. It was a minor thing, and he was fine. Something's not adding up here. Something really is not adding up here. Why is it Barosich, when he's struggling, seems to get injured? And then when he comes to a game where he doesn't really fancy it, he's suddenly injured again, despite the fact that his own manager declares him fit. He then joins up with his national team, and his injury was nothing serious. He's fine, and he can play as a substitute in the first game, and he can start the second game. And by all accounts, had a pretty good game against Armenia, from what I'm hearing. It's a very suspicious one for me. I'd love to know what you think, but personally, I'm sick to death of him. I'm fed up of him. I think he's had a couple of decent games at the start of this season, but he struggled when it's been a decent team he played against, PSV, for example. I think he would have struggled had he played against Celtic, against Abeda. He always does. Just look, people have knocked down the Zagreb rumours and said there's no truth in the Dinamo Zagreb rumours. So, look, you can put 2 and 2 together and get 5 on those. I don't know what the truth is on those rumours. But for me, with him being in his last year of his deal, if it is that we're not going to offer him a new contract, and I hope we don't offer him a new contract, I think it's kind of reached a time where it's a natural parting of the ways. You know, he's been here for a long time. Players can go stay in the same location. It's time for him to move on. I think in January we should try and move him on, at least to get some money for him, so that he doesn't walk for nothing in the summer. Same with John Lundstrom. But to me, like I said, I'm sick to death of him now. I'm fed up of him. I just think he's got a questionable attitude. You know, when you need your players out there, when you need, he just seems to go missing. His defensive abilities aren't good enough. Yes, his delivery from set pieces and his delivery from crosses is decent, but you know what? He's in the team to defend. He's a left back. Ridvan Yilmaz, yes, has struggled at times. Yes, has been injured a lot, but he's still a better defender than Borna Barosich. Dujon Sterling is a better defender than Borna Barosich, even though he's not a natural left back. So personally, I never, ever want to see this man in a Rangers shirt again. He'll start on Saturday against St Johnstone, because he's Michael Beale's favourite. But look, at the end of the day, I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him anywhere in a team. I want to see him at home. I'm fed up of him. Just had enough of Borna Barosich. Really, genuinely have had enough of him. You know, these next 5 games for me have got to be won. There is no excuse for me. We've got St Johnstone. We've got Betis in the Europa League at home, not away in Seville. We've then got a home game against Motherwell, a home game against Livy, and a home game against Aberdeen. 3 home games on the bounce. Yes, one is a cup quarter final. We have to progress. We have to win that cup. There is no excuses. But in terms of those next 5 games, Michael Beale has to win all 5. There is no excuse. If we slip up against St Johnstone, the pressure will ratchet up even more. If we lose and are humiliated against Betis, the pressure will ratchet up even more. If we come to the game against Aris Limassol on the 5th of October, we have not come off the back of 5 straight wins, then I'm sorry, but Michael Beale has to go at that point. 5 wins or bust. That's the way it is. If we don't get 5 wins, not good enough. It is not acceptable. A draw in any of those games is not acceptable. For a club like Rangers that is seeking to get back to the top, that is seeking to put ourselves back where we belong at the very top of the Scottish game, and as a major force back in Europe, we have to win 5 games. Now, look, I know people are going to come back, but Betis are a decent team, Betis are this, Betis that. I'm sorry, but did we not say as a fan base, well, actually, no, I didn't. I wanted to play the Champions League. But did some Rangers fans not say, oh, the Europa League's our level, we can compete better at that level? Well, let's start to show that, shall we? We've got to. 5 wins, no excuses anymore, Mr. Beale. No more, we've got to be clinical in front of goal. We made some mistakes, didn't pass the ball well enough, blah, blah, blah. 5 wins or bye-bye. It's the way it's got to be. If he's staying, which it looks like he is, Sources of the club have certainly said that he's staying. So at the end of the day, it's 5 wins or bye-bye, Michael. It has to be. 4 wins and a draw, bye-bye, Michael. 4 wins and a defeat, bye-bye, Michael. It's got to be 5. 5 or bust. That's the way it has to be from now on. Okay, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. We always value your opinion here on Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm a bit behind in responding to comments. I do apologise. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that sub, ring that notification bell, and come and join the channel. As always, guys, 2 things I need you to do for me. Number 1, smash the like. And number 2, remember, we are the people.